Hello everyone, welcome to yet another day in this Clown Decade, the decade where things are only going to get worse before they get better. And if you want to keep up with all things Clown Decade, do subscribe to the channel and of course become a channel member. Right, today is largely a follow-up video to last month's coverage of Tel Aviv fans being banned from Aston Villa. Long story short, it was a pretty obvious campaign from the local Gaza MP, who's also a Lib Dem councillor, to effectively punish Israel for going to war with Gaza and winning. This was made obvious because absolutely everyone involved in the campaign said, oh, we've managed to ban the fans, now let's ban all Israelis from doing any sport in all of Europe as punishment for a war. The precedent is obviously banning Russia from everything, which, even at the time then, I was saying is setting a bad precedent. And wouldn't you know it, now we're trying to do the same thing because we have a load of sectarian politicians in basically all forms of government. And, well, the police decided to go along with it and ban the Tel Aviv fans in what, from what I could see, with all the evidence I could find, was very, very, very suspicious. Anyway, Nick Timothy went down to the game, probably to watch it, and with the added bonus of basically being able to interrogate the police overseeing the trouble that was brewing, to see exactly what they would say about the situation.
War crimes?
Yeah, they serve in the IDF. I never heard that being said, so sure. I feel like you're just saying that to manipulate.
I mean, that's just a little sneak peek of what Nick Timothy heard from interviews that he was having with these people. We're not going to exhaustively go through this 6-minute video, but I think it's still good to get the main point across. These people will just lie, and they will lie and lie and lie. And you know who else will lie, apparently? The police.
Do you think you have a right to Chaplin-style test of the IDF?
That's the IDF. I never heard that being said, so sure. I feel like you're just saying that to manipulate the media.
Right,
you know what I mean?
You did say.
I feel like people like you come here intentionally to cause trouble.
No, really? You think I'm causing trouble?
You guys are here. You don't know Libya. You don't live in probably your country areas and
really?
This and that, your nice and posh areas.
Really?
You don't cause a problem for our families who live and reside here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there is no way he did not hear people shouting and chanting death, death to the IDF. I won't go as far as accusing him or suspecting that he was chanting it as well. I have no idea. But it's a common thing to shout. It was even shouted at Glastonbury, for goodness sake. And why anyone would try and deny that there is blatant hatred of Jews in... Well, certainly it is more concentrated in certain communities. I don't know, let's say Handsworth, which obviously is where Robert Jenrick went to say integration has not been very good here. You know, I'm just picking examples at random. That, by the way, is right next to Villa Park. It's, well, it actually turns out there's no wonder why the police were trying to ban Tel Aviv fans. It wasn't because of the Tel Aviv fans, as everyone tried to claim. I even saw quite a few right-wingers saying that. Apparently they have this massive reputation for being violent, which, when I looked into it, I couldn't find it. When I asked other people who are into football, they'd never heard of that before. And even when they are banned, you still need a massive police presence to calm down tensions. Somehow, I don't think the Tel Aviv fans were the problem.
How do you feel about Jews being banned from coming to the game this evening?
I feel like those fans that got banned coming, it's good they got banned.
You feel what?
It was good that they got banned from coming.
Yeah?
Definitely.
So you feel proud that Jews aren't allowed to come to a football match in Birmingham?
I'm glad they got banned, because if they came here, they would have 100% caused problems. And if they caused problems, we would have had to defend ourselves.
Again, just absolutely ludicrous. They did get banned, and there were still problems, which we'll get into in a second. Nick Timothy also went to the police to, well, put them up to scrutiny while, I suppose, waiting to get into the football match, or this might have been after, I'm not sure.
Hey, we don't want to speak to you about that. Stop putting that thing in that.
I haven't done anything.
Go away.
I'm a citizen of this country, and I'm free to do what I want.
Go away. No, don't.
Is that my choice?
Don't entertain him. Don't entertain him.
I was trying to have an adult conversation. They started calling me a dog and swearing at me. I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything wrong.
I think it's best that we leave it.
I mean, in this individual case, I understand why the officer wants this particular conversation to end, because as much as he has every right to effectively go up to these people with a camera and ask them questions, you know, if he carries on not leaving, yeah, let's just say bad things are going to happen, and it is literally the police's job to prevent that from happening. Now, obviously, they should be dealing with the people who are actually instigating threats and insults, but no, they obviously go with the safer option. Let's be fair, if you were a police officer, you'd be doing the same thing, because I don't think either of us would feel that we were being paid enough to risk getting a punch in the face. But ultimately, the same thing has happened with the Tel Aviv fans. Because as reported by the BBC, there were hundreds of protesters there to demonstrate the controversial Aston Villa match against Maccabi Tel Aviv. Nothing controversial about it in the previous years, but there we go. 11 arrests were made amid a huge police operation with more than 700 officers deployed for the Europa League game. A large number of pro-Palestine supporters waved banners and flags outside Villa Park, while a smaller group of pro-Israeli campaigners marched towards the ground in the wake of the decision to ban away fans. And I support said protest because I still think the ban on Tel Aviv fans was absolutely ludicrous. And my goodness, are we going to go through some stories that prove that correct? Chief Superintendent Tom Joyce said the vast police presence had been necessary due to several groups arranging protests and counter-protests. We police football matches a lot, we police protests a lot, we deal with all sorts of public order scenarios, but certainly the level of interest and the level of concern around this match is really unprecedented. And to be honest with you, I would be okay with the police limiting the number of Tel Aviv fans that would come if they were just honest about the fact that it's due to the fact that there are problems of residents nearby who really, really don't want that. But they can't be honest about that, and they have to basically say, actually, the Tel Aviv fans are the problem. Well, let's get into that. Well, the police used fake claims to ban Maccabi fans from Aston Villa game. Dutch officers dismiss as untrue accusations. The Israeli team's supporters include highly organised skilled fighters who threw people into a river. So this was one of the things in the last video. The police were using an Amsterdam game where Israeli fans were there and there were multiple arrests made, street fighting and so on going on in Amsterdam, because as I went through in the last video, the Ajax Stadium was between two fairly multicultural areas of Amsterdam, and well, as it turns out, the evidence that they were using didn't even stand up to scrutiny, with the Dutch officers basically saying, you're just making this up. I also went through the news of the Amsterdam game, and in fact, the majority of people arrested were not Israelis, and the majority of people injured were Israelis. Again, I don't think the Tel Aviv fans were the problem. So a British police force used false intelligence to secure a ban on Israeli fans attending an away game in Birmingham this month, according to Dutch law enforcement. West Midlands Police concluded it was high risk for Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters to go to the Europa League game in Aston Villa on November 6, leading to local authority to recommend they be banned. In a confidential report setting out its justification, the force detailed violence when Tel Aviv played Ajax in Amsterdam last year. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Ajax, but whatever. Claiming that Israeli fans threw innocent members of the public into the river, and that between 500 and 600 intentionally targeted Muslim communities, and that 5,000 police officers were deployed in response. Sounds pretty bad. If this is all true, I could probably understand why the ban was in place. Didn't happen though, did it? The National Police Force of the Netherlands has said the claims were incorrect. Sebastian Major, a spokesman for the Amsterdam division, said he was surprised by other allegations, including that 200 travelling Maccabi fans were linked to the Israeli Defence Force. He said the force would never have such intelligence and that Israel had a policy of conscription, making the claim meaningless anyway. That is absolutely hilarious. Yeah, there's a national service in Israel, for pretty obvious reasons, I would like to add. And so saying loads of these people were part of the IDF, it's like, well, yeah, they have to be. It's like with H3 and Healer. She was part of the IDF, just a secretary, by the way. And obviously she's got plenty of abuse for that. But she didn't have a choice. And in fact, is quite critical of the IDF in their streams whenever it comes up. Of the findings, the Israelis were highly organised street fighters with a serious desire and will to fight with police and opposing groups, he said. Amsterdam Police did not recognise the claim, and West Midlands Police had attributed it to Dutch law enforcement. On people being thrown into the river, Major said the only known case related to a man who appeared to be a Maccabi Tel Aviv fan. He was filmed being told that he could leave the water on condition he said free Palestine. Again, this is what I kept finding. Looking into the police's claims, it was, oh, but that wasn't Tel Aviv fans doing the bad thing. It was Tel Aviv fans on the receiving end of it. And don't get me wrong, there's obviously going to be Tel Aviv fans who were also instigating hooliganism. It will have happened, I have no doubt about that. But it's just amazing that they still feel the need to lie about what Tel Aviv fans were doing. The Dutch police issued its denial after the intelligence was leaked, describing information cited by its British counterparts as not true, and in some instances obviously inaccurate. None of the disputed claims appear in an investigation by the Dutch Justice and Security Ministry dated in May, this is such a scandal. People should be fired from West Midlands Police for this. This is horrific. They are more than willing to lie about Israelis to get them banned, whether that's because of anti-Semites within the police force or whether it's just the police trying to do their job and stop anti-Semitic attacks happening in Britain. It doesn't matter. They have lied to get an outcome that they wanted, and it has tarnished the Tel Aviv fans for no reason. Oh, sorry, no, there are reasons there, but they're all spurious. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've known for ages that the police lie, but this is another level. Again, they bend over backwards and break their own code of conduct to protect communities. And obviously, the locals, who are very pro-Gaza, is the community that needs a large amount of protection. In fact, the Times has a list of the key claims and the Dutch response. The West Midlands Police. 200 Israelis were linked to the IDF. The Dutch. We didn't investigate any IDF background. Most young men in Israel have some connection to the IDF, but we did not investigate it, and we don't have a number for that. But they all will have been IDF anyway, because conscription. Another claim. Some 500 to 600 of them deliberately targeted Muslim communities. The Dutch said, well, it will be a small groups in the city that will get into fights, but we don't actually have a number on that. So they lied about that. Claim, Maccabi fans threw a member of the public into the river, and the response, actually, it was the other way around. It was a Maccabi fan who was thrown into the river, and who was only allowed out if he said free Palestine. Claim, Dutch police deployed 5,000 officers, and actually the Dutch came to 1,200, and that was in different shifts. About 1,200 were deployed. I read 5,000 police. That number is not so true. Claim Israelis were highly organised and skilled fighters, and the response, the Amsterdam police just doesn't recognise this claim. Literally every single one of these claims is a lie, and they were used as evidence to say we need to get rid of the Tel Aviv fans. Sorry, this is not acceptable. And honestly, everyone who was trying to claim on Twitter actually Tel Aviv caused massive problems over there and actually they're known for their hooliganism. Sorry, turns out you're wrong. When even the Dutch are having to basically say, listen, the Israeli fans really weren't that much of a problem, you really have to question what the West Midlands Police intentions were with all this, and it's pretty obvious. Worst case scenario, there's anti-Semites in there. Best case scenario, they really, really, really didn't want any bad press coming out about fights in Aston Villa that was sectarian in nature. Either way, the police are not doing their job properly here. And to be honest, you could see that from Nick Timothy's video anyway. Anyway, despite the Dutch police effectively calling the West Midlands Police liars, a peer review conducted on October 20 by the UK Football Policing Unit and the National Police Chiefs Council fully endorsed the force's approach and decision-making. To be fair, that was before the Dutch police came out and said this is all lies. We are satisfied that the policing strategy and operation plan was effective, proportionate, and maintained the city's reputation as a safe and welcoming place for everyone, unless you're a Tel Aviv fan. Nick Timothy, a Tory MP and an Aston Villa fan, said that if the Chief Constable, Craig Guilford, cannot justify the actions of the force, he will need to resign. Well, he did justify it, he just justified it with a bunch of lies. When the ban was announced last month, it caused controversy. Number 10 condemned the exclusion of fans from the Jewish state simply because of who they are. Critics claimed the other clubs with ultras, fanatical fans who can be violent, had not faced equivalent measures, and the PM said that it was the police's job to ensure that all football fans could enjoy the game without fear, blah, 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 blah. Literally everyone condemned this. Literally everyone in power condemned this. And nothing changed. Because at the end of the day, all you get from the uniparty is lip service, which is exactly what happened here. I suppose at least Nick Timothy went down and actually got on the ground reporting of all this. Unironically, possibly the best use of a MP using his social media power. Obviously, it wasn't the most popular video out there, but I'm completely with him and the rest of Parliament when they say, obviously, these Israelis should not have been banned. So why has nothing changed? Because nobody really wants to change anything, because if you do, you get riots in Aston Villa. That is likely a risk. Anyway, when all this came out, inevitably the police had to apologise to Jewish leaders over the Maccabi Tel Aviv report. Senior police officer wrongly told Parliament local Jews were consulted on barring Israeli football fans before Aston Villa match. So it goes beyond lying about them, they also lied about even bothering to consult the Jews in the area about this football match and the ban. So a senior police officer has apologised to representatives of the Jewish community after wrongly telling Parliament they had agreed with the controversial decision to ban Israeli football fans from a game in Birmingham. Mike O'Hara, the West Midlands Assistant Chief Constable, claimed officers had consulted with Jewish representatives before concluding it was too high risk for Tel Aviv supporters to attend a fixture against Aston Villa last month. He repeatedly told the Home Affairs Select Committee on Monday that Birmingham Jews said they did not want Maccabi fans coming to the city. He said that this was communicated directly to the police and included it in a risk analysis. It's not even hyperbole to claim that the police lied about literally everything when it came to supporting this decision. The only reason they wanted to, as I said in the last video, was to stop sectarian violence on the streets, which, fair enough, that's part of your job, but the fact that it is the Jewish side having to take the brunt of not just the ban, but the lies about them too, is quite despicable. And once again, we're playing apologia for an actual problem community. That is what is happening. Even Nick Timothy's video, you could easily see that. They were happy to lie to his face constantly. He repeatedly told the Home Affairs Select Committee on Monday that Birmingham Jews said they did not want Maccabi fans coming to the city. He said this was communicated directly to police and included it in a risk analysis. The claims are untrue. O'Hara has now written to representatives of the community in Birmingham saying he apologises and it was not his intention to mislead, and that he accepted that no community member had told the police they supported the ban. I didn't intend to mislead anyone, I didn't intend to lie, but I did just lie without anyone actually going to the Jewish community to ask them anything. Sure, man. He said he would update MPs as soon as possible. One source who saw the letter alleged that it was particularly twisted distortion of the facts because consultation with Birmingham Jews had been so minimal. The source said the force appeared to be using the community as a shield to avoid scrutiny. Yeah, it's pretty obvious that that's what they were doing. The claims about Maccabi controversy are the latest by the West Midlands Police to unravel under scrutiny, and could lead to both O'Hara and the Chief Constable, Craig Guilford, being recalled to Parliament and hopefully getting the sack. This is absurd. Dutch police already said the force justified the ban using false intelligence. We already went through that, and this included allegations about the Israeli fans throwing civilians into the river, links to the IDF, and 5,000 officers being deployed. Yeah, we went through all that. It's absurd how much the West Midlands Police have lied about all this, and as much as I say all of these people should be sacked, I don't think any of them are going to be, as much as Parliament pays lip service to Jews in Britain. This gets worse. The force also referred to a fictitious match between West Ham and Maccabi, a claim so inaccurate that MPs queried whether it had been generated as a result of an AI hallucination. The apology would deepen concerns over a decision which Number 10 said excluded Israeli fans. Other critics have accused the force of compromising its neutrality and pandering to the loudest voices, including the local pro-Gaza independent MP, Ayub Khan. Lord Cryer, a Labour peer, described the ban in Parliament as an evil plot by a bunch of bigots and racists to turn Birmingham into a no-go area for Jewish people. I don't see what else you could describe it as. There is so much lying and so much misinformation, from what I can tell, purposefully put forward by the West Midlands Police. I'm not buying all this, it was an accident, we never intended to lie. Yes, you did. There's too many of them. You don't get absolutely every single fact about your justification wrong and claim that none of it was intentional. I don't understand why you thought you could get away with this. Oh, on the bright side, at least there weren't riots in Birmingham. Yep, fine. Can we do something about the core issue with that, though? Why can't we have Israeli fans in Birmingham exactly? Can you at least answer that? I'm sure you can. You talk to these community leaders all the time, apparently. Well, not the Jewish ones, as it turns out. Absolutely incredible. It's clear that the police still work with a progressive stack, and it's clear that Jews are below Muslims at the very least. And obviously the proxy way to say that is, Israelis below Gazans, but it's a proxy for these wider issues that we have. It's the most obvious euphemism in the world. Everyone's allowed to talk about it in those terms, and yet, as it turns out, as much as the political class play lip service to the pro-Israel side, when it comes to other institutions, they've got the complete opposite message, and nothing happens to them. It's almost as if true power lies with the pro-Gaza side. This story gets worse and worse, actually. Under questioning from MPs, Guildford refused to acknowledge that the force was wrong about anything beyond the West Ham game. Sorry, you had the Dutch police basically saying every claim you made about what happened in Amsterdam is wrong. What do you mean? Which police intelligence said took place on November 9, 2023. It led to a 1-0 scoreline, apparently. In fact, the sides never played. Guildford said that he was told that the result of some social media scraping that was done, a reference to the automatic extraction of a large amount of data from platforms such as Facebook, YouTube and TikTok. He added, "We also searched through social media to see what was trending and what the posts are, who's following the posts, etc. It did not provide any evidence of a post referring to such a game, a fact likely to add to concerns that its true source was AI. AI may have hallucinated this based on the fact West Ham had played a game on November 9, the date provided, and won 1-0, which was the scoreline against another team, the Greek side of Olympiakos. In turn, Olympiakos did play Maccabi in the Europa League last year." Oh, but at the very least, Guildford did admit that certain claims were based on speculation. Also lies, as the Dutch police thoroughly skewered all of your claims when it came to said speculation. Anyway, if you thought this was all bad enough, the West Midlands Police also overruled UEFA advice not to ban Maccabi fans. Ministers and MPs are now scrutinising the force's handling of the ban on the Israeli team supporters amid claims that officers misled Parliament. Oh, they did, and I hope they get the sack, but no, in this country they won't. So the West Midlands Police overruled advice from UEFA not to ban the Israeli fans from a game in Birmingham last month. Wayne Nash, a security and safety officer from the European footballing governing body, recommended that the Europa League tie between Aston Villa and Tel Aviv on November 6 should go ahead with fans from both clubs in attendance. I mean, it really does substantiate the claims that the police are just anti-Semitic in the West Midlands. In early October, he told a meeting of Birmingham Safety Advisory Group, a panel that includes Birmingham City Council and the police, that UEFA did not believe Maccabi fans should be banned. On October 16th, the SAG, the Safety Advisory Group, met again without UEFA representation and announced that Maccabi fans would not be permitted to attend Villa Park. They literally met again and did not allow the people who were giving the counterfactual to make their case and obviously complain about the decision. That is hilarious. Mike O'Hara of the West Midlands Assistant Chief Constable confirmed to MPs last week that the force had sought intelligence from UEFA but did not disclose what the governing body had actually said. Well, it turns out that they actually said, "We disagree with your decision to ban Tel Aviv fans." And in fact, Lord Mann gives context to the government's independent advisor on anti-Semitism, saying that UEFA had overseen over 200 Maccabi European fixtures, run police football safety training, such as in Budapest, and have employed a former UK policing specialist. Their advice should have been followed because, believe it or not, they know what they're talking about. Oh, this gets even worse. The meeting was not recorded and no minutes were actually taken by West Midlands Police. Well, that's awful. People should be fired for that. Wilkinson sent only a single subsequent email. The Times have been told that Wilkinson had not raised any concerns about Maccabi fans attending Villa Park when he met the Israeli club's safety officer at the UEFA Annual Safety and Security Conference in Budapest earlier in September, a week after the Europa League draw was made. Guildford also admitted last week's committee hearing that the intelligence report used to justify the ban had included a fictitious match, and we've read all about that yet again. So let's just get all the facts straight. Basically, the West Midlands clearly wanted the Israeli fans banned from coming to Aston Villa. To do so, they completely made up what happened in Amsterdam, to the point where the Dutch police had to say, yeah, every point you've made is just completely wrong. On top of that, they claimed to have instigated discussions with the Jewish community. It turns out that this was very minimal, and there's basically no Jewish leader who has said, yes, we agree with the ban, as it turns out, so they lied about that. And then on top of that, UEFA's own safety advice was, yeah, there shouldn't be a problem, let them come. And in response to that, instead, the safety advisory panel had another meeting where they basically just didn't invite anyone who was saying, yeah, of course, the Tel Aviv fans should be allowed to come, including UEFA themselves and, of course, any Jewish community leader. This was a panel who had one goal: get Israelis banned from this game. That is the only thing they cared about. To do that, they had chief constables and superintendents, what have you, basically people at the top of the police hierarchy, on board with this whole charade. And now they're having to go to MPs and lie to their faces. In fact, no, they're not even trying to lie at this point. Basically try and downplay the lies that they were telling about the report they used to justify the ban, about the fact they just made up a football match, which if there were actually altercations going on, trust me, people would remember it from 2023. And somehow, despite all the revelations, these people still have jobs. Again, it is kowtowing to communities around Birmingham that seem to have, well, all the political pressure. What else is there to say? And it's got it to the point where the police are more than willing to completely humiliate themselves in this ritual, basically to keep them happy. Why? I can't see any other reason than because they were threatening violence, as we saw in the Nick Timothy clips. We would be forced to defend ourselves. Do you know what else they call self-defense? October 7th. That was the opposite of self-defense. Just bear that in mind. And I think with that, that's everything I have for you for today. So if you enjoy what I do, do subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. On top of that, do become a channel member and leave super chats and super thanks. In terms of streaming this week, Wednesday it's going to be a gaming stream. Friday there's Wolves of Westminster. And I am going to do Laughing at the Guardian on Saturday because Christmas is coming up and, well, I won't have time to stream. So with that, I would like to thank you all very much for watching. And until next time, goodbye.